Hello, my name is Tom Smila. I am the Recruiting and Employee Experience Coordinator here at U of M-Flint. Today, I want to take some time and go over the concept of SMART goals now that we are in the performance evaluation cycle to help us prepare for the upcoming year. So let's get started. So why do goals matter? Well, setting goals is really an essential step to running a successful department. How are we going to achieve anything if we don't know what we're aiming for? So writing down goals kind of creates the purpose and the commitment. It's kind of like writing and creating a to-do list. It's really more important and becomes more important when you put it in writing. And we're more committed when we put something in writing. So here's a couple quotes. Vision without action is a daydream. But action without vision is a nightmare. We have to know what our target is and what we're trying to achieve. So research shows quite a bit that setting specific and measurable goals combined with receiving appropriate feedback is much more effective for departments than trying to achieve vague aspirations. And this is really where the concept of SMART goals comes into play today. And what are these goals going to be used for? Well, really, it's going to be part of this annual performance review process, and it's going to be developed in the initial stages of the review process. So as we get through starting the review process here, it'll be something that you as employees will be doing, putting together. These will be monitored and evaluated periodically with your supervisor. Follow-up is really the key. It's easy to write a goal, but it's also easy to forget about a goal throughout the course of a year. So I put together a separate video regarding one-on-ones with your supervisor that helps us to prepare and conduct one-on-ones so that we continue to follow up after the review process has begun and throughout the course of the year so we stay focused on the goals that we need to try to achieve as employees. So really, let's take a look at the definition. What are SMART goals? So SMART goals are targets or objectives that an individual is trying to achieve over a certain period of time. These types of goals are drafted by an employee and then reviewed by a line manager before being finalized. They should link to university objectives and team and departmental goals. So the key concept here is that these are going to be measurable goals and create a place for feedback following up. Okay. So what does the acronym SMART stand for? And we're going to get into the specifics of each of these, but the definition of the acronym stands for S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for timely. But before we get into the specifics of each letter, let's take a look at the benefits of SMART goals. Really, some of the benefits are it really helps us to initiate behavior. It's a good starting point for us. It guides our focus, it guides our specifics. It's a really good way to sustain momentum. It's easy to forget after you write your review what your goals are. So it's important to get that feedback, do the one-on-ones with your supervisor, kind of feel the sense of accomplishment as you go through the year and achieve some of these mini goals in your overall picture. And it really just helps you align your behavior to the bigger picture of the department. How do my goals affect the department and the department goals overall? And it's just essential for self-initiative. It keeps us motivated. Having these SMART goals really keeps us motivated. So how do I define the scope of these goals? In other words, what are the topics? How many should I have? SMART goals are meant to address your major job responsibilities. We call them MARS. Remember, goals are intended to focus attention and resources on what is most important so that you can be successful in achieving your priorities. SMART goals are goals for your day-to-day job. So when we look at some of the common categories that we want to look at is, do we want to increase something in our job? Do we want to make something in our job? Do we want to improve something in our job? Reduce something like costs? Do we want to save something or develop someone? In other words, yourself. Is it a career developmental type of goal to help us become better? And I think one thing that's important about these SMART goals is they could be fluid throughout the course of the year. So they may be refined or updated throughout the course of the year because circumstances change and conditions change. So I think by having these initial written goals and then having one-on-ones with your supervisor, you're going to be able to determine whether or not maybe some of these goals need to be adjusted throughout the course of the year. So now let's explain each letter in SMART goals. So the first one is S for specific. So when you're setting a goal, you always want to be as specific as you can about what you want to accomplish. Think about this as the mission statement for that goal. This isn't necessarily a detailed list of how you're going to meet the goal, but it should include an answer to the popular W questions, we call them, like the who. Consider who needs to be involved to achieve the goal. The what are you trying to accomplish? And get very detailed about it. The when, what's the timeliness factor? In other words, what's your deadline? What's your time frame? Kind of set mini goals along the way. The where is there a location or is there a relevant event? Let's identify it here. The which is determine any related possible obstacles or requirements required. And then the why. What is the reason? What's the purpose for this goal overall? So the second letter is M for measurable. And really, once again, like we talked about before, these are fluid, so they can, these goals can change throughout the course of the year. It's really, there should be a source of information or measurement to determine whether a goal is being achieved. Sometimes measurement is kind of difficult, and managers and employees really need to get together and identify how are we going to measure this goal, whether we've achieved it or not. And it could be both quantitative, which is maybe productivity results, maybe money saved or money earned or cost savings, things like that. Or it could be qualitative. Maybe there's surveys that go out. Maybe there's observations made by the managers. Maybe there's client testimonials that'll help us determine whether we are in the process of achieving that goal. So that's our second letter, the M. The third one is achievable. Obviously, the goal needs to be realistic and attainable to be successful. It should stretch your abilities, but still remain possible. So in other words, reachable, but not impossible. The goal is meant to inspire motivation, not discourage people. So, make it where we stretch a little bit, but also make it something that can be achievable. And then the R part is the relevancy. And this really focuses on something that makes sense with the broader department and university goals. Does this goal meet our department or our university goals? Make sure that your plans drive everyone forward, but that you're still responsible for achieving your own goal. So once again, in the diagram here, you can see, does it match your goals with the department goals? That type of thing. So make sure it's all relevant to what, as a team, you're trying to accomplish. Last letter is T for timely. The goal needs to be defined with a deadline. Everything needs to be time specific. And you want to set mini goals along the way to monitor. This really keeps us on track, having those mini goals along the way. And then as you have your one-on-ones with your supervisor, you're able to measure, am I still going along and doing okay in terms of reaching my goals for the long term? And really, time deadlines really create a sense of urgency. It's easy to put off goals, it's easy to forget about them, but this really puts a sense of urgency on those. So let's take a look at a couple examples. So here's SMART goal example number 1. The topic is reducing purchasing supply costs. So this might be the situation, say an administrative assistant might have this as a goal. To reduce purchasing supply costs by 10% by the end of the fourth quarter, I will audit supply spending, identify and eliminate the purchase of unnecessary supplies, and maintain a supply inventory to reduce the waste of reusable supplies. So the S, the specific, this goal lays out a specific plan to reduce spending and what they're going to do. The M is This goal is measured by the completion of a 10% reduction in supply costs by the end of the fourth quarter. It's achievable. This goal is relevant to the overall success and profits of the company. Saving money is always a top priority for companies or organizations, which also makes it a big part of an administrative assistant's job. And what's the deadline? The goal has a specific deadline at the end of the fourth quarter. So that's one good example of a SMART goal. Let's take a look at a second one. Number 2, the general goal is to grow social media presence. And the SMART goal might be grow social media presence by 30% by reaching 10,000 followers on Instagram by June 30th. What's specific? We're going to 30%. We're going to grow the social media presence at that 30% mark. Is it measurable? We're going to reach 10,000 followers on Instagram. Is it attainable? You want to target Instagram where our target demographic is most active. And between you and the manager, you can determine really, is this attainable? Is this a good reach? Yet is it still attainable and not impossible? And is it relevant? Well, improving social media presence to generate more leads is very important. And what's the time deadlines? 10,000 followers by June 30th. So it's got all the elements of the SMART goal in it. So the last thing I just want to focus on is here's kind of an example of a worksheet. You can use whatever type of worksheet you want to put in there, but this is just an example of, once again, the importance of putting it in writing, and it establishes that commitment and that motivation to get it done. So an example might be a form like this, and we can always supply you with any type of SMART goal forms if you would like through human resources. So this is just a place to write things down. What's the specifics of the goal? What do you want to accomplish? Who needs to be included? When do you want to do this? And why is this a goal? Of course, measurable. How are we going to measure if we've been successful? How are we going to measure if we've reached this goal? The A, achievable. Do we have the skills acquired to achieve this goal? If not, can you obtain them? What is the motivation for this goal? Is the amount of effort required on par with what the goal will achieve? So these are just some ideas. Is it relevant? Why am I setting this now? Is it aligned with the overall objectives of the department? Is it the right time to do this? All these questions will be important when you're developing your goals. And then, is it timely? What's the deadline, and is it realistic? And are we setting kind of some mini deadlines along the way? So review what you've written, kind of craft a new goal statement based on what the answers to the questions above have revealed. And then you'll have your total SMART goal, which you can then present to your supervisor at the time of the performance review geared to the next year. So that's just kind of an example of a worksheet. Once again, we can help you through that entire process. So I hope this helps give you some tools, ideas, and resources to develop your goals for the upcoming year. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact Human Resources for any assistance. Thank you very much for your time.